Mangwanani Mwalelepo, Vukenjani, Klas Manave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwyn, Mberi and Glen-nora. Tjipura. How are you, Glen?
I'm doing very well. It's a Wednesday. It's a few days closer to the weekend.
A few days closer to the weekend indeed.
Yes, and we look very good.
We do the best we can.
I'm waiting for that compliment.
No, you look fantastic.
Thank you.
As always.
Now getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Fire at Canadian High Commission in Nigeria kills 2 workers repairing generators. Clashes in Ethiopia's Amhara region raise concerns for historic churches. Phala Phala cleaner and Namibian co-accused appear in court for theft of stacks of cash. Also later on in the show, we'll be talking to Arrie Hougaard, who will be filling us in on the latest news in South Africa. Do stay tuned for these stories and more on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouthwatering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Getting into our top stories, a fire at the Canadian High Commission in Nigeria's capital killed 2 people and injured 2 others, the local emergency services said on Monday. The fire broke out in the morning while workers were servicing generators, said Nkechi Issa, spokeswoman for the State Emergency Management Agency in Abuja. The 2 killed were Nigerian maintenance workers, she said. The fire occurred when the tank of diesel in the generator house containing 2,000 liters exploded, Issa said. 2 maintenance workers were being treated for severe burns. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu mourned the victims and offered the Canadian government his government's full support, his office also said in a statement.
In our next story, fresh fighting between the Ethiopian army and a local militia in the northern Amhara region has raised concerns among the residents for the safety of historic rock-hewn churches in the holy town of Lalibela. Fano militiamen overran Lalibela and Gondar, the second biggest city in the Amhara region, for several days in August in Ethiopia's most serious security crisis since the 2-year civil war in neighboring Tigray ended a year ago. Fano fighters battled alongside the army during the war in Tigray, but relationships between the 2 sides have soured, particularly after the federal government moved in April to integrate security forces operated by each region into the police and army.
All right, now the 2 alleged masterminds of the brazen dollar heist at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala Lodge in 2020 made their first appearance in court. Froliana Joseph was employed at the lodge as a cleaner and will now be detained in the cells at the Bela Bela police station in Limpopo. David is alleged to have divvied up the spoils of the theft with others and lived the high life. Now, following their arrest by the Hawks at the weekend, the pair has been charged with theft, housebreaking with intent to steal, conspiracy to commit robbery, conspiracy to commit housebreaking with intent to steal. Now, David also faces an additional charge of money laundering. The charges relate to the 2020 burglary at Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm, in which several $100,000 hidden in a couch at the Limpopo Lodge was stolen.
Now, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Monday that the protection of civilians must be paramount in the conflict between Israel and Palestinian militants Hamas, warning that the Gaza Strip was becoming a graveyard for children. This footage is courtesy of Reuters. Let's take a look.
Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. Hundreds of girls and boys are reportedly being killed or injured every day. More journalists have reportedly been killed over a 4-week period than in any conflict in at least 3 decades. More United Nations aid workers have been killed than in any comparable period in the history of our organization. We must act now to find a way out of this brutal, awful, agonizing dead end of destruction. to help end the pain and suffering, to help heal the broken, and to help pave the way to peace, to a two-state solution with Israelis and Palestinians living in peace and security. Ground operations by the Israel Defense Forces and continued bombardment are hitting civilians, hospitals, refugee camps, mosques, church, and UN facilities, including shelters. No one is safe. At the same time, Hamas and other militants use civilians as human shields and continue to launch rockets indiscriminately towards Israel. The protection of civilians must be paramount. I'm deeply concerned about clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing.
Now, in the last of our top stories, DRC government troops and United Nations peacekeepers launched a joint operation aimed at reinforcing security around the capital of the North Kivu province, Goma. The city, as well as Sake, face threats from several armed groups, including from the M23 rebels. Now, this is the group which Congo accuses Rwanda of supporting. United Nations experts concluded in a report that Rwanda backs the M23, although Kigali denies the claim. The UN's force commander, Lieutenant General Otávio Rodrigues de Miranda Filho from Brazil, was present at the launch of one joint patrol and emphasized his force's commitment to helping the Congolese troops. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, Arrie Hougaard joins us from South Africa.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
We now cross over to South Africa, speaking to Arrie Hougaard, who's bringing us the latest news in the land of Mzazi. Good morning, Arrie.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, nice to talk from Cape Town. Yes, morning.
Well, getting into your first story, pressure is building from the United States Senate on South Africa's continuous membership of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. What's going on there?
Yes, GOA has been going since 2000, so it's been going quite a while, and it's meant to be at an end on 2025, but the US Senate is asking for an extension for another 16 years. But there's been a document tabled in the Senate by Senator Chris Kuhn, and he asked that South Africa's membership must be assessed immediately, and that is an ongoing battle between the US and South Africa, and that comes from basically from where South Africa aligned them at the moment. It is obviously well documented with the alignment with Russia and with all those interactions, and then also the latest ones from the USA stating that Iran and Hamas is also on South Africa's side. South Africa basically siding with them or being sympathetic. So it's a difficult one for South Africa. GOA is important for trade. It means that there's a 25% discount on many exports to the country, to the USA. So it's a big benefit for South African economy. So we don't want that to be recalled. South Africa is a big part of AGOA. 1,800 products, that's a benefit to the USA for South Africa. So it is a tricky one for South Africa, but it is not being confirmed. It is just under review at the US Senate.
And you know, it seems like there's going to be quite a bit of spillage from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For example, today, our time, in the U.S., the cabinet, House of Representatives rather, suspended the only Palestinian, or chastised rather, the only Palestinian member of their cabinet because of her remarks. And again, South Africa's cabinet itself is not happy with the Israeli ambassador still holding office in Pretoria. Please expand on that.
Yes, the cabinet made the statement. They said it's untenable. So that was the statement made by cabinet. But the cabinet also said that the call is with the international relationship minister, that's Naledi Pandor. And so at the moment, that is Naledi Pandor. So it's her call related to the ambassador in South Africa. What already happened was that South Africa recalled their staff and diplomats from Israel, from Tel Aviv back to South Africa. So that already happened. South Africa, one of 8 countries that did that. Other countries, for instance, Turkey, also Chile, it's also Colombia and Bahrain, to mention quite a few. That's been some of the demonstrations at the embassy, some for and some against. But at the moment, the ambassador of Israel, that is Eli Balot-Seskovsky, that is him. He's still in office in Pretoria. So at the moment, he is still in South Africa. But obviously, South Africa's stance at the moment is asking for ceasefire. But the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that there will be no ceasefire until the hostages are freed. And I saw reports today that Israel claimed that they're in the middle of Gaza City at the moment. So it's ongoing at the moment, definitely a problem.
Yeah, definitely a problem indeed. Now, moving on to your next story, ports in South Africa continue to battle to walk away huge backlogs of ship containers. What's going on there?
It's been going quite a while. It's a congestion, and they are way behind on all the ports in South Africa. And it's at some cases, it's reckoned that it's up to 60,000 containers that will be 6 days extra to clear that. But the problem for shipping companies is that they're starting to add cost to wait. And you can understand that. So it's the big shipping companies, the MSC, and also Maersk, that said that they will add cost for all their clients, roughly $200 to $400 per container that they need to charge. And that is in case the ship needs to be in the harbor for a longer time. So that is the challenge for the shipping companies. But it's been going on for quite a while that the ports in South Africa has been struggling to work away all the volumes of containers.
All right, now in the last of your stories, the Department of Health warned about the dangers of malaria season and asked for precaution for South Africans traveling to neighboring countries.
Yes, the risk of traveling to neighboring countries seemed to be the theme here. There's been 7,400 cases in the year in South Africa. 70 people died, unfortunately. But the Department of Health made a statement and said that only 17% were locally, meaning more than 80% was people coming back from countries outside of South Africa that didn't take precautionary measures. And that is visiting countries like Mozambique, Ethiopia, also Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Angola. So it is the Department of Health that asked everybody traveling to take precaution in that regard. So it's obviously a big challenge. The malaria season is coming up. So it's not only in South Africa, but it's only when you're traveling to neighboring countries with obviously those mosquitoes can be dangerous. They're small, but they can kill you.
Thank you so much, Arrie, for bringing us these stories from South Africa.
Yes, a big pleasure and a great day for everyone. We talk again next week, Wednesday, South African News. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers, Arrie. We're going to head to the weather predictions just before we return with your economic updates.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Let's get into the economic news. Vendata Resources and the Zambian government on Monday sealed an agreement that restores the Indian company's ownership of Konkola copper mines, ending a protracted ownership battle that stifled investment. Zambia's mines minister Paul Kabuswe witnessed the signing of the agreement between state firms and Chris Griffith, Vendata's head of base metals in Lusaka, officially handing the copper assets, which the state seized in 2019, back to Vendata. The agreement will lead to the reappointment of the KCM board and withdrawal of all legal challenges that are in court, including removing a provisional liquidator who was in charge of the assets, Kabuswe said. The government, which owns a 20% stake in KCM through ZCCMIH, said in September it had reached an agreement to allow Vendata to resume control of the mines and smelter after the company pledged to invest about $1.2 billion at the operations.
In our next story, the International Monetary Fund has agreed to increase Kenya's lending program by $650 million, the Kenyan President's chief economic advisor said on Tuesday. Sovereign debt investors are paying close attention to the East African nation due to a $2 billion Eurobond that is maturing next June amid persistent weakness in its foreign exchange rate that is weighing on Kenya's hard currency reserves. The government plans to buy back up to a quarter of the bond this year. The governor of the central bank, Kamau Tuge, told Reuters last month to be financed by new borrowing. An IMF team arrived in Nairobi last week to conduct the sixth review of a lending program approved in 2021. The fund has not yet commented on the outcome of the mission, which is yet to be completed.
All right, we're going to head to the economic indicators just before Arrie swings back for the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news and starting off with soccer news first. That's from the English Premier League and the game played between Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea. It's Chelsea that won the game surprisingly by 4-1. That game was played at Tottenham Hotspur and it was described by many as crazy and controversial. It was crazy and controversial because there were red cards and also ill discipline and injuries, but it was Tottenham Hotspur that finished the game with 9 players. It was 9 players because of red cards in the game. Players that left the field was firstly Romero in the 33rd minute and he got a red card, and then also Udogi that also got a red card in the 55th minute, and it was a 2-1 late in the game in the 94th minute, and Tottenham Hotspur also had a chance to equalise, but then it was Chelsea that scored 2 late goals in the 94th and 97th minute, and that is to seal the win by 4-1. It is Chelsea's first win since the 7th of October. Another good season for them. They're 10th on the list at the moment. They've got 15 points from 11 games. And then at the moment, all the teams have played 11. At the moment, it is Manchester City leading by 27 points on the lock. Tottenham Hotspur they're still second on the lock. They've got 26 points, and then followed on 24 points by Liverpool and Arsenal. Moving on to tennis news on international sport, and that is the WTA finals for women that was played a day late because of weather delay. That was in Mexico, in Cancun, and it was Iga Swiatek of Poland that won the tournament. Quite a comprehensive and easy win in the final against Jessica Pegula from the USA. It is Swiatek that won the game by 6-1 and 6-love. With the win, it is Swiatek that is now the new world number 1 again. She took over from Aryna Sabalenka, so she will finish 2023 as the world number 1 player. She's 22 years old, and she became the second or the youngest winner since 2011, and that was when Petra Kvitova won the tournament aged 21, and it's the first ever WTA finals win for Iga Swiatek. On the men's tennis calendar, the ATP finals will be played from the 12th to the 19th of November. As with the women WTA finals, it will be the 8 best men players that will compete in that. That will be played in Turin, and the favorite in that will be world number 1 Novak Djokovic, and other favorites will be Carlos Alcaraz and Daniil Medvedev. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is hockey news and Olympic game news. Olympic Games 2024 that will be in Paris next year. And the good news for South African hockey is that both the men and women team that qualified for the Olympic Games in 2024 in Paris. The Africa Continental qualifying were played in Pretoria in South Africa, and it's firstly the women that qualified for the Olympic Games in 2024 by beating Nigeria convincingly by 9-0. Good result for the South African women's team, and a good performance also by Taryn Lombard. Taryn Lombard scoring a hat-trick of goals for the South African women's team. In the men's qualifying, it was South Africa that played against Egypt, and that was in the final for qualifying, and South Africa winning by 2-1. It was quite competitive, and only in the fourth quarter, it was Ryan Julius that scored for South Africa to make it 2-1. Also quite tense in the end. There was a video referral review for Egypt for a probable goal, but it wasn't allowed, so South Africa winning by 2-1. Still, the Egyptian men team and the Nigerian women team can still qualify for the Olympic Games in Paris. There is now a worldwide qualifying that will play, Olympic qualifying tournaments that will play, and both Egypt and Nigeria qualify for those tournaments to still make it to France 2024. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning on Wednesday, the 8th of November. Let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Fire at Canadian High Commission in Nigeria kills 2 workers. Phala Phala cleaner and Namibian co-accused appear in court for theft. And billionaire-owned Vendetta seals Zambian copper assets deal.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Do remember that you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. From me, Glen-nora Tjipura.
And me, Ashwyn Mberi. Swera Jakanaka.